You're listening to the Telltale channel. Don't forget to check me out on all social media: Patreon, Twitter, Teespring, and Etsy. All links can be found in the description or on my website, telltaleatheist.com. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. We've got an interesting show, if I do say so myself. Let me just explain what we're going to be talking about. I came across this Young Turks video earlier about the COVID lab leak theory. This is not what I originally intended to cover. I decided to just because it's absolutely crazy. And if we have some time after that, we're going to talk about a guy that was around during the Satanic Panic era, 1987, okay? The guy goes by... Wait, where is he? Hold on. It's this guy right here. Dark Lord Blood is what he calls himself. I found this entire footage. It's 31 minutes long, and it's from a talk show in 1987. Oh my God, it's so entertaining. If we don't get to it tonight, I'm going to be doing a full breakdown of it on my unfiltered YouTube channel, Telltale Unfiltered, tomorrow morning. If you missed it, it'll be on the Unfiltered channel, edited and cleaned up eventually, so just keep a lookout for it, or watch my website. It'll release there sooner than on my Unfiltered channel. owenmorgan.com is the website. Also, one more thing, I would appreciate it if you went to my website, owenmorgan.com, signed up for my email list so that you get like early access to full, uncensored, complete ad-free videos. You can get access to those videos on the website or by signing up to the email list. So keep that in mind. Just wanted to mention it. So with all that being said, why don't we talk about this Young Turks video that I found deeply ridiculous and problematic. And while we do, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild. I'm playing this in preparation for the new game, but it'll be in the background, so won't bother you if you've never seen it before, never played it before. Yeah, let's listen to this Young Turks video.
Intelligence arm.
All right, hold up.
There's a report today that another intelligence arm of the U.S. government, this is inside our energy department, has joined the
Department of Energy is who announced this.
FBI in concluding that COVID began with a lab leak in China. If we end up determining, if our intelligence community over time determines, this is the majority view, and it's the US government's view, that this was a lab leak in China and that government covered it up, what should be the consequences?
Now, before we get to Republican Senator Dan Sullivan's answer to Chuck Todd's question, I think it's worth visiting the reporting on the allegations regarding the lab leak and how it might have led to the coronavirus pandemic.
Right, so if you are not familiar with this whole thing, there was this massive conspiracy theory a while back. The far-right conspiracy theorists have been screaming about the idea that COVID was leaked from a lab for like since day one. Basically, they claimed that it was leaked from a lab, right? And the Young Turks had this absolutely ridiculous, terrible take on it. You know, I agree with their politics by and large. I don't agree with their tactics, their strategies, their rhetoric. Some of their takes are absolutely ridiculous. Just keep listening because my jaw dropped when I heard what they had to say about this.
This has to do with a new report based on new intelligence by the Energy Department.
Remember that phrase, new intelligence, based on a report. I'm sorry, it's a report based on new intelligence. Remember that.
And while the Energy Department has come out with this conclusion, they say that it is a low confidence conclusion, and the intelligence community overall is still divided in regard to where the virus originated from. So here's what we know so far. Some officials briefed on the intelligence said that it was relatively weak, and that the Energy Department's conclusion was made with low confidence, suggesting its level of certainty was not high. While the department shared the information with other agencies, none of them changed their conclusions, officials said.
Now, just before we go further, let me say this. Did COVID leak from a lab? That's the question at hand here. The answer unequivocally is, I don't know. The answer is not, let's make something up. It is not, let's speculate even further without having any information. It's not any of that stuff. It is, I don't know. That's the correct answer here. You can lean one way or another, and that's perfectly fine. But ultimately, in the end, the answer is, I don't know.
Now, it is important to keep in mind that there is one intelligence agency that tends to agree with the Energy Department here, and that's the FBI. In addition to the Energy Department, the FBI has also concluded with moderate confidence that the virus first emerged accidentally from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a Chinese lab that worked on coronaviruses. We'll get to the other agencies in just a moment, and we'll also get to Sullivan's answer to Chuck Todd. But Cenk, initial thoughts.
So there are two major things to look out here for. First of all, did it come from a lab leak? Nearly impossible to know. Damn it, Jim, I'm not a virologist.
That's the key right there. Impossible to know. I'm not a virologist. That's the answer. That's all they had to say here, right? Their bad take has not come out yet. Just wait.
Having said that, did you hear what Anna just read you guys? It came out of the city that has the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a Chinese lab that worked on coronaviruses.
And why do you think that lab was there? You think maybe the lab was there because they knew that there was a species of bat nearby that carried a coronavirus that was easily studied because it was in the region? Do you think that could be the reason?
Man, that is an awfully large coincidence.
No, that was intentional. The lab was there very intentionally.
And
I am so, look, I don't insult people, okay? I don't do it. Not from a public platform. I don't insult people. But I'm sorry, man, this is dumb. This is just straight up stupid.
And that's what I've thought throughout, that was an awfully large coincidence. Now,
it's not a coincidence. It was intentional. It was set up that way. This is how conspiracy theories spread. This is all pure, unadulterated conjecture. He's putting all this stuff forward like there's some big secret trying to be covered up or something. Like this adds to the idea that it leaked from a lab. No. It was intentionally put there.
In the beginning, people swore up and down that it was natural and not from a lab. We'll get back to that in a second.
No. People didn't swear up and down that it was natural. People swore up and down that you're a fucking moron for claiming that it leaked from a lab with no evidence. Abraham Lincoln said something in old-timey language. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it boiled down to this. If you say something without knowing if it's true or not, and it turns out to be true, what you said was false, whether it turned out to be true or not. If you claimed that it leaked from a lab, you were wrong. Even if it turned out to be leaked from a lab, after the fact. You were wrong. Because you didn't have the evidence you needed to assert that.
Actually, can we address that right now?
Yeah.
Please.
Because one thing that's become increasingly clear to me, especially over the last year, is that I don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
Right? I certainly don't trust reporters.
This is one of the stupidest takes that I have heard in my entire life, honestly. Certainly from Anna Kasparian. Anna Kasparian is generally pretty good, I think, for the most part. Although everybody on here insults people from their platform, and that deeply bothers me. They're reactionary, very reactionary, which, in my opinion, is why the Young Turks has produced the likes of Dave Rubin, far-right nutter butter, and Jimmy Dore, another far-right nutter butter, right? How do they keep pumping out right-wing nutcases? It's because they're reactionary. There really is no, difference between Jimmy Dore and Anna Kasparian. Okay, well, there are differences. Let me rephrase. There's no difference tactically between Jimmy Dore, Anna Kasparian, and Dave Rubin. It's only in their ideology and their beliefs. And that's my problem right there. Now, as far as who you can trust goes, you shouldn't trust anybody or anything fully. Have you ever heard of skepticism before? Like, I trust Reuters as a news network more than any other news network around, right? But I still look at their sources. If Reuters is getting a report from somebody who is anonymous and there's only a single instance of this person, you know, laying down these claims or whatever, I'm going to have, you know, a higher level of skepticism about it than I would if the report came from, like, you know, somebody who witnessed it firsthand and they had video footage and all this other evidence for it. You shouldn't, like, I don't know who to trust. What do you mean you don't know who to trust? As far as news reporters go, you shouldn't trust anybody fully. Look it up yourself. Look everything up yourself. Demand evidence, always. What a ridiculous thing to even say, I don't know who to trust.
Because reporters treated this initially as if it was nothing more than a crazy, unhinged conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
It is an unhinged conspiracy theory when there is no evidence for it. It was a conspiracy theory at the time. Now, there's some credence lent to it because there's evidence now. We didn't have evidence, okay?
Yeah. So who do you trust, right? You can't trust the legacy media outlets because that was their narrative. Right-wing media, you know, tends to go in the direction of it was definitely a lab leak, but they have their own biases. So what do you trust?
Yeah.
Who do you trust?
You don't trust anybody. You take everything with a healthy dose of skepticism and look at sources. Look at everyone's sources. It's mind-blowing to me that they're sitting here saying this. As people who've been in the news reporting business for like decades now. I mean, they're not reporters. They are political commentators. There is a very distinct difference between the two. But they have reporters, don't they? They have reporters on staff too, I think. To say something like this is absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Trust. Even the intelligence community in the United States is divided on this issue. And it's not just about the coronavirus pandemic, guys. It's about every single political issue. I don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
This is absolutely absurd.
So I'm gonna make it worse before I make it better.
Okay, go ahead.
So first of all,
you're not making it worse. We're just gathering new information. That's not better or worse. See, this is the problem. They got emotionally invested in this. They shouldn't have been emotionally invested in this. My answer to was it leaked from a lab was no, probably. We don't have the evidence to assume it was leaked from a lab. No, beyond a reasonable doubt. And now new evidence has been presented, and it's reasonable to think that maybe it was. Why is this so difficult for them? I don't understand. Like, what's the hang up here?
The main organization that put out a report saying it was definitely from a natural occurrence was the World Health Organization.
Okay, I don't remember the WHO ever saying it was definitely, what do you call it, like a natural occurrence. But I wouldn't take any single entity's word on this. Certainly not one who very obviously, you know, is very close-knit with China, right? They released reports that were questionable because they were more favorable to China. So, yeah, don't trust any single source. You should be getting your information from multiple sources if at all possible, right?
Normally fairly reputable and trustworthy, except for the fact that in this particular case, China demanded that half the people on the panel be from China.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they were kind of sold out to China a little bit throughout the pandemic. I mean, China had some sway at the very least, and that was concerning. That's why you don't fully trust any source. You need to look at their sources. Look at the evidence that they're providing to you. Why is this so hard?
And so it was a very, very questionable finding, but it was reported as if it was legitimate.
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly right.
And so that makes it worse. Second of all, you think, well, okay, now it's pretty settled. I mean, you got the Energy Department, your FBI.
No, it's not settled. Are you kidding me? You just went through a period of time where you strongly believed something unjustifiably and then had that yanked away from you. Why are you so sure all of a sudden the other direction? Really?
Even saying more so that they think it was a lab leak. And come on, the Wuhan virology lab's right there. What are the chances it's not? Okay.
That was intentional because there are coronaviruses in the area. This is a joke, dude. This is a straight up joke.
Okay, but be careful of the new reports too. Why? Because now all of a sudden you've got Republicans like the one we just showed you in the beginning and Democrats who are more hawkish and inclined towards neoconservatism coming out saying this is the fault of the Chinese Communist Party. Uh-oh. So remember we've been reporting about how we're starting to do more warmongering towards China.
Yep.
The Pelosi visit, the arms sales to Taiwan, the Chinese spy balloons, and the other rando balloons we shot down as if it was they were Chinese, etc. So now,
yeah, okay. So the tensions are rising with China right now. That's true, and I most definitely don't want to get in any kind of, ground conflict with China.
Here comes the war drums.
Yep.
So be careful, not just with, hey, what was COVID? Where did it come from? That's very important. We have to track that down scientifically because for the next virus that comes out, it's critical that we know the truth, the medical scientific truth behind how it emerged. But it is curious that all of a sudden, our government is starting to say, Democrats and Republicans, and almost all of them neocons, pro-war legislators, coming out and saying, Chinese Communist Party. What does this have to do with communism? What are you guys talking about?
This has nothing to do with communism whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, that's the political party in China. That's the thing. We have the Republicans and the Democrats in the United States, and they have the Chinese Communist Party. That's the name of their political party. And there's only one political party in China. That's the problem here. The political party controls everything, including the military. Don't quote me on this. I could be wrong. Once again, check your sources. Do not take me as a final source on any single thing, okay? But I heard that China as a government, as a country, doesn't even control a military. It's the party that controls the military. So in the odd event, a new political party came in and tried to take, or they did take control, the military would not belong to that new political party. It would belong to the CCP. That's kind of how it's all structured, and that's part of what makes it so authoritarian. Anyway, like I said, check your sources, okay? Even me. I get things wrong sometimes. I know sometimes it seems like I'm just right on top of things and I have all this extra information no one else has or whatever, but I'm wrong. I am wrong. It happens. One of the most important things anybody can ever learn in their lives is to say, I don't know. It is so important to get used to saying, I don't know, and be comfortable with it.
And if there was an accidental lab leak, as you say, Cenk, I think the world deserves to know about it. The fact that the world...
Oh, sure. Of course China's going to cover that up, though. I mean, that wouldn't surprise anybody, I'm sure.
World Health Organization investigation into this was heavily biased in favor of China.
Oh, absolutely.
Is absolutely ridiculous. And if I recall correctly, that bias wasn't initially reported, right? It wasn't until...
I mean, you've got to... If you didn't think that there was a bias going on there, then you're a fool. Everybody could see that there was a bias happening between the WHO and China. I mean, it was reported on in multiple outlets. I mean, I guess if you didn't watch politics closely, it would make sense that you weren't aware of that bias or whatever. But, Anna and Cenk should have known about this.
The Biden administration found out that there was a pro-China bias within the World Health Organization's investigation into it, that he ordered his own investigation.
There you go. And that is more trustworthy a little bit. We should take it from multiple sources if at all possible. We should be using multiple sources for our information.
And then after that, it turns out that you have all of these mixed signals or signs coming from various intelligence organizations. Let's go to the other agencies, for instance. 4 other intelligence agencies and the National Intelligence Council have concluded with low confidence that the virus most likely emerged through natural transmission, the director of National Intelligence's office announced in October of 2021.
You know, for what it's worth, it's not completely implausible to think that it arose from natural causes. I'm still not completely convinced that it didn't, and neither is the government. It was just one Department of Energy report, classified report, that says the probability is low, but it's there, that it was leaked from a lab. Everyone else kind of thinks it probably arose naturally because, you know, there's a, what is it, Minute Physics video maybe or something that came out years and years before the pandemic hit, where he was talking about, maybe not Minute Physics, I don't remember, ASAP Science video on YouTube, something like that. He said the next virus or the next pandemic would probably be a coronavirus from bats, because there are, you know, so many viruses like that, so many coronaviruses, that style of virus in bats. It's the most likely source of the next pandemic. That's what he said. Seriously. It's not unreasonable to think that it, you know, it occurred naturally. It was a spillover event and everything.
And like the low confidence, moderate confidence, who do you trust, especially given all of the other agenda items?
You don't fully trust anybody. Get your information from multiple sources. If multiple people are not reporting on it, don't trust it fully. The answer can be, I don't know. It's like she's struggling with the fact that the answer is, I don't know right now. She's pissed off that the answer is, I don't know. That's still the correct answer, by the way. Even now, because the intelligence community is divided on this.
That both lawmakers and government officials have in mind when it comes to geopolitical issues.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a very self-aggrandizing answer first and then potentially what you consider a more real answer, right? Look, guys, who can you trust? How about us, right? Well,
obviously that's a terrible idea. Obviously, you absolutely should not trust them at all, because they don't seem to have a grip on anything. And they seem to be deeply bothered by the fact that the answer to any question is, I don't know. Honestly, the Young Turks are great with some of their takes, great with some of the ideas that they espouse. But you know what? Joe Biden is great with some of the ideas he espouses too. You know, Marianne Williamson is great with some of her ideas. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, some great ideas. I love them, actually. But their tactics, their strategies, their ideologies, their everything built up around these people, aside from the ideas that they have, is terrible. Like with the Young Turks, they're awful in some ways. I'm sorry. You know, I just can't. I cannot with these people.
It appeared that all the scientists were saying that it was natural born. We said, my recollection, and you guys...
No, the scientists weren't saying it was natural born. They were saying there's no reason to believe that it was leaked from a lab. And it was accurate then, and it's accurate now, currently. Well, I guess it's a little bit more believable to think. I guess we have some evidence. I don't know what that evidence is, but apparently there is some. No one ever said, no scientific authority with any credibility would have said it absolutely most definitely did not leak from a lab. That's ridiculous.
Everybody can look it up, and they often do, right? Was that, hey, I'm like, all the doctors and scientists are saying that it's natural. Okay, I guess it's natural. And
then, I think they were saying it's most plausible that it came about naturally. Anyone with any credibility would say that. Scientists don't deal in absolutes like that. Only Siths deal in absolutes, okay?
And Wuhan labs, the virology labs in Wuhan, and then it became not unanimous, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. That is an unbelievable coincidence that the virology lab is right next to the outbreak.
Give me a fucking break, man. The virology lab was there because there were creatures with coronaviruses nearby. You must be joking. Like, he's not thinking critically at all. This is a joke. What happened? Was he always like this? I never really watched TYT, almost never. Is this like a common thing for them or what?
What were the chances, right?
Yep.
And so
Anna's just nodding along. Yep, yeah, absolutely. You're totally right. What are the chances? Are you fucking kidding me?
like we said that years ago, right? Under Trump. So
I don't know. I don't remember what you said, but I'm going to take ownership of what I said, okay? Because I said that there was no evidence of it, right? If I remember it correctly, right? I wasn't.
There you go. That's it. There's no evidence of it. Correct.
Completely dismissive of it, but we didn't have evidence, and I'm not going to repeat.
There you go. You've got it. Now, why is that so hard?
Theories that we don't have hardcore evidence to back up.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to believe. And when you say trust us, we don't know. We don't know.
No, but that's exactly why you should trust us, because we're not driving an agenda here. We're
This is a fucking joke, dude. This just bothers me so much. I can't stand it.
sharing all of the information that we have filled with uncertainty. When you see people saying in right-wing media, mainstream media, we know, okay? How do you know? Are you a virologist? Did you trace the DNA or whatever of the virus? I don't even know the terms, right? Exactly right. So of course we don't know for sure. We don't have access to those things, and we're not those scientists, and neither is the guy at Fox News or MSNBC, okay? But what we know is things that what we can ascertain together, right? It seems to me logically, here, I'll give you an example.
Oh God, please don't try to use logic here. It's going to go bad, isn't it? This is going to go really bad in a second. Are you absolutely sure that's true about Siths? Pretty sure. I think so.
Remember,
that's what I've heard anyways, and I trust my sources unequivocally without question.
Mark Sanford, who was governor of South Carolina, goes on they said he was missing for a while, and they said he was on the Appalachian Trail and they couldn't reach him because he was hiking for days. And I said, look, I don't know, I'm not next to him, but I would be shocked if that were true. That's not, very, very likely it is not true, right? And at the time, it was considered outrageous to say that. A beloved governor says he's on the Appalachian Trail. He must be on the Appalachian Trail.
He was on a trail already.
For sure. Turns out he was in Argentina with his mistress. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I didn't hear about that. Look, don't trust anything. I'm sorry, hang on, guys. I'm making a noise here. I apologize. I have a package of Gushers. You guys remember these bad boys from back in the day? These little puppies right here? Yeah, I was just opening this thing. Sorry. Oh, I got one that's all strawberry. I like the mixed ones. Anyways. Okay, I don't know what this governor thing has to do with anything. He shouldn't be trusting anything 100%.
So in this case, you have the Wuhan virology lab that works on coronaviruses, and a coronavirus outbreak happens right next to it.
It was put there because there were creatures that had coronaviruses in them that were studyable. That's why it was there. He's not only is he thinking illogically, not even is he using logic, he's not even incorporating additional information that we have into the equation. This whole thing is ridiculous, dude.
It's not, it is very likely that it came from the lab.
No. I think that was one report from a single sector of the government, the Department of Energy. Now, they claim to have some evidence that says that it's likely. Okay, great. So I assume that it's probably a little more likely. You're trusting sources again. This is what got you in this mess in the first place. Whoop, I muted by accident.
I'm telling you it's my opinion, and that's called honesty.
So what are the reasons why it's been so?
He's saying it as though these other government organizations were not espousing it as on a scale of probability. The Department of Energy said that it's likely. This is a scale of probability. This isn't 100%. They are telling you that it leaked from a lab. And anyway, even if they espouse it as 100% thing, you shouldn't trust it. Have a little skepticism.
So difficult to determine with great certainty or, just a little more certainty than what we've heard so far is that it seems as though the Chinese officials are making it difficult to research this and investigate.
Oh, of course. Yeah, they've had years to cover it up by now, too.
This. In fact, I want to give you a statement from a Chinese foreign ministry spokeswoman. COVID tracing is a scientific issue that should not be politicized, Mao Ning, a Chinese foreign ministry spokeswoman, said of the Energy Department's conclusion. She then repeated calls for the United States to, quote, stop defaming China by raising the lab leak story. Theory. And then this is the part that really gets to me. China also spread conspiracy theories by suggesting COVID may have been a product of US biological weapons program.
Oh yeah, that was probably a threat. Like, if you continue blaming us for it, then we're gonna start blaming you for this or that or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of China's MO. You know, we don't hear from China very often in these types of adversarial ways. We hear from Russia like this all the time, right? But really, China and Russia are really, really similar to each other in how they operate, in the kind of underhanded, dirty things that they say and do as a government. Like, the government operates in underhanded, dirty ways, in the same exact way. Like what we're reading here. It's kind of a threat. They're saying, if you continue to espouse this idea, we're gonna spread conspiracies about you or something. Anyway, yeah, keep listening here.
Here, I'll give you two more logical conclusions, guys. So number one.
And you want to bet these aren't going to be logical?
She says, the US is politicizing this. So I see you've learned a trick or two from slimy American politicians, okay? Mm-hmm. No, you guys the Chinese government is covering up any attempt to investigate where it actually came from.
That's true. That is true.
Which, by the way, is another giant clue that it was their fault, right?
Not necessarily. It was nobody's fault. It was an accident one way or another. They did go on to cover it up, though, of course, and that was deeply wrong. I mean, who knows exactly what happened, but they refused to let people in to investigate. They wouldn't give us information. They don't like people poking around anyways. It's not a dead giveaway that it was, a lab leak.
And so for her to say that the US is politicizing it, when they've made a political decision to cover up what might be a crime, the original crime scene, is hilarious and obviously hypocritical. Now, was it on purpose? That's another layer, and that I think does get to.
We shouldn't even be talking about this right now. We shouldn't even be talking about whether or not it was on purpose when we don't even know if it was leaked from a lab. He's building assumption on top of supposition on top of total BS. No reason to do this. No reason to go down this road.
Look, whatever you want to call conspiracy theories, right? I'm positive I never called the lab leak a conspiracy theory.
It was a conspiracy theory. You know why? There's no evidence to back it up. None at the time. Now there might be some evidence, so it's no longer a conspiracy theory. That's how this works.
I always thought it was logical, okay? So, and please go and find whatever we said about it. We'll own up to anything, and my guess is you're gonna find me saying that at some point in one of the coverages.
You people are idiots, I'm sorry. I don't even feel like that's an insult. I feel like I'm trying to give an honest assessment of the situation. This is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard from these people.
Anyways, but in terms of actual conspiracy theories, the US and China are like, did the Chinese Communist Party do it on purpose? And the Chinese are like, did the US do it on purpose? Okay, but over about 1 million Americans died, 700,000 Chinese have died. That would be the worst plan in history. It's not impossible. There's a lot of incompetence in governments, but I don't think anybody did this on purpose. Killing nearly 1 million people in your own country
and hurting your economy
and absolutely pulverizing each other.
Look, there's no reason to even, bring this up. There's no reason to even talk about it because there's no reason to believe, no strong evidence to hint at the idea that it was leaked from a lab anyways, accidentally or otherwise. No reason to even talk about it. Hey, just want to say I love watching your streams and videos. They make me laugh and I enjoy them. Appreciate you and who you are. Thanks. I appreciate that, Venon Sharpclaw. It's awesome. Glad you're here. Jessica Joyce, I just want you to know you're in my I just want you to know you're in my wife, and is eyes smoke circle because when you take a vape hit, we take a fat rip. Thanks for being so awesome. Okay, I appreciate that. Glad I could help. Talia R. COVID did leak from a lab. The evidence is blatant. We just need to make sure it doesn't happen again and do that. And to do that, we have to admit the origin. Okay, well, that's perfectly fine with me, but I haven't seen that evidence. I mean, maybe that's true. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I don't feel like the evidence is strong. Maybe it is. Somebody gonna have to provide that to me.
Because government officials don't care about human lives. They care about money at the end of the day. They care about their economy at the end of the day. Would they do this on purpose to negatively impact their economy, including the world economy? I doubt it.
Yeah, right? It is not likely. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So with that said, though, luckily, we have all these competent government officials, members of Congress who are really looking out for our best interests. So they've got a game plan, right? Well, why don't we hear from Republican Senator Dan Sullivan on what the game plan is?
I hope our Democratic colleagues in the Congress can support that. I know the Republicans.
Wow, the audio and video are completely out of sync in this clip. This is terrible. This bothers me more than probably anything.
In the House are certainly supportive of that. But I think if that happens, we need to make sure every country in the world knows this.
I would say they're about 10 frames apart. The video is 10 frames earlier than the, I think this is probably 30 FPS. So I'd say about a third of a second behind.
Look, this is a country that has no problem coming out and lying to the world. We just saw that with this Chinese spy balloon. It's the nature of a communist dictatorship to lie to their own people, to lie.
Well, I mean, it's not fully communist. They are the Chinese Communist Party, but throwing the word communist around is very reminiscent of McCarthyism and obviously just an attempt to kind of fearmonger a little bit,
Lie to the world. But I think that we need to make sure every country knows that and then look at what the consequences could be. Obviously, millions of deaths, huge economic impacts.
Yeah.
And it would once again show that the Chinese Communist Party is not only a menace, but the nature of these regimes is to lie to the world. And we need to make that clear to people.
In other words, there is no plan. He called for hearings because that's what members of Congress do. They just do hearings all day, every day. They do nothing else. Just hearings, just hearings. Yeah. So how do you confirm the findings of the Energy Department and the FBI? How do you know with great certainty that it was in fact a lab leak? And once you find out, and once you confirm that it is a lab leak, what is the course of action? Because I certainly don't want to engage in a hot war with China.
Yeah, there's basically no course of action. That's the end of the road. Now, I find value in the truth for truth's sake alone. I'm not sitting here saying it's pointless to try to figure it out because it doesn't matter and blah blah blah. Like, no, I get it. Trying to research something, find answers just for the sake of having those answers, I'm down. You never know what value truth will contribute to your life or to anything at all. You never know. So I'm down to find the answers here, but if you don't have the answer, it doesn't mean you should just make one up.
That would be a disaster, right? So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for this story, for this issue, and I don't really know what to make of what we're hearing from the Energy Department, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah, look, guys, there's an excellent chance we're not gonna find out ever where it actually came from, because both the Chinese and US governments are giant liars. So that senator, what a joke. This communist Chinese party has no problem lying to the world. What do you think we do? George W. Bush, who you loved, said, we would never wiretap American citizens. Then it turns out he was wiretapping American citizens. We would never do torture, they were doing torture.
Yeah, but there is a difference. There's a difference between the way that China acts and the way the United States acts. China generally keeps their noses out of everything, but when they don't keep their noses out of everything, they are meddling and trying to push things further toward extremism and dictatorship in the world. It's the same with Russia. Any post-Soviet states that seem to kind of still be stuck in the Soviet mindset are kind of like that right now, unfortunately. Now, that doesn't mean that America is not a threat to world peace. At least historically, even recently, the United States has most definitely been a threat to a threat to world peace, for sure. But they're not the same, and he's kind of trying to conflate them here. So
lie after lie after lie, and it's not just Republicans, Democrats lie all the time too.
But Cenk, to be fair, we've never acted on bad intelligence.
I mean, come on, these guys are a goddamn joke. And then Chuck Todd, of course, lets all of that slide.
I'm not sure what that has to do with the lab leak or whatever. So yeah, I guess that's the end. I just wanted to show that to you guys because it bothered me so much. I did say that I wanted to watch Dark Lord Blood here, though, and I'm going to explain that in a second. Joshua Lee, thank you so much for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Quick reminder, guys. If you want to check out, if you want early access to my videos, hang on. Give me a second here. Hold on. Okay, we're good. I wasn't sure what I had on screen there. Let me pull this puppy up for you here. All right. If you want early access to my videos, uncensored, complete, and ad-free in some cases, not in all cases, all you have to do is go to my website, owenmorgan.com, and right there you have access to every video. It's all aggregated and cleaned up, has a description with it, tells you what it's about. If you click on the post title also, it'll tell you what it's from. Unfiltered YouTube channel. It's from the week of February 26th. And it has tags with it. You can click one of the tags, let's just click cults. And it'll show you every post that, had that tag in it. You can click unfiltered YouTube and it'll show you every unfiltered YouTube video, every Telltale unfiltered video. Week of February 26th, that'll show you all of them, And along the side, you got week of March 5th. I'm going to be kind of aggregating them all one after another, just like that. This video right at the top, I don't know why it's not embedding properly, but this is unlisted. This is not public yet. This one isn't. So you guys could watch that right now if you wanted, unlisted. Every week, also, if you sign up for my newsletter, which just go to the home screen and type in your information alongside. Wait. Uh-oh, it's not here. I'll add it in there later. Email list. Just hit email list along the top there if it's not there for some reason. Just go here, type in your info, and subscribe to the newsletter, and you're good to go. I will send you a breakdown, a full breakdown of every single video that I release that week. They will be unedited. They will be complete, ad-free, the majority of them at the very least. Uncensored. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty good stuff. And I'm just now realizing that one of my contact forms was all messed up. So let me just fix that real quick. Take me 3 seconds here. Sign up form. Hang on. Form builder. Just want to fix this, and then we're going to talk about Dark Lord Blood. Sorry, guys. Remove that. Delete. And good. Okay. I think we're good. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that message thing, but I fixed it. So, yeah, just go to email list here or owenmorgan.com/subscribe, and it'll let you type that in. You can also go to owenmorgan.com/mailbag, and you can leave a comment for me if you want. That's pretty cool. Or you can also, yeah, I haven't put a menu item in there for the oh, I have. Contact me. Just hit the contact me menu button there, and you can leave a comment there too if you want. And then make sure you click subscribe. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to mention that before we move on to Dark Lord Blood. I would appreciate it very much. Like I said, uncensored, ad-free, complete videos that you gain access to if you actually go there and, sign up or go to my website or whatever. It's, I'm not selling you anything. I just want a connection to you guys in case something happened or whatever. Okay, sweet. Let's see. Love all your channels, BTW. Just trying to help you stay updated. For a lefty overview of the evidence, look into the channel Secular Talk in the Hill. It was an accidental leak in Wuhan. Okay, I see. Yeah, I know of Kyle Kolinsky, Secular Talk. I'll have to take a look at that later. I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I don't believe anything without evidence. I'm really, I feel like evidence is like one of the most important things, You shouldn't accept anything without evidence. Now, you've seen that evidence. I haven't seen it yet, so when I see it, I'll watch that later, the Secular Talk one. And then I'll have the evidence too, right? All right, cool. Let's listen to Dark Lord Blood. Let me give you a little intro to this. Let me find a really good shot of him. Hold up. She's a private investigator. Okay, here we go. Okay. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this is Dark Lord Blood. He is a supposed Satanist from 1987. Did an appearance on this talk show called Best Talk in Town. And it was all about Satanism and how it's permeating all stretches of society. It just got absolutely absurd, dude. I found this on a website called foundfootagefest.com. It's a complete interview, 30-minute interview. Apparently, it was found between auto races or some kind of a racing thing going on, and it was during the commercials that it played. So foundfootagefest.com basically pieced together all of the the bits and pieces of this in between like hours and hours of auto racing. It didn't even get its own time slot, supposedly, from my understanding. I think it was in 3 pieces or something. And they got a supposed Satanist expert on, somebody who's a Christian but studies Satanism and how it, whatever they think it does. And they got a real full-blown Satanist on. In my opinion, Dark Lord Blood, the Satanist, is actually just a Christian trolling people. But let's listen to the interview. See what these people had to say. This is from New York City, Manhattan, 1987.
New York City was gripped with fear, and police had launched one of the largest investigations ever. Son of Sam was stalking the streets, and David Berkowitz was about to kill for the last time. Now, did he act alone, or was he part of a satanic cult? And how real is devil worship? We'll find.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this David Berkowitz stuff. I probably should have looked it up before listening to this. Oh, well.
Out this morning. I'm Nola Roper, and this is the Best Talking Time.
God, it's so 80s, isn't it? Reminds me of Full House or something. Best talk in town.
Hi and welcome. I don't know, satanic cults today. Basically we think of ourselves as a God-fearing nation, but how many times do we actually think that satanic cults are really behind bizarre murders and perverse goings on? Now, the subject we're going to deal with today is not only bizarre to most of us, but really pretty horrifying. So viewer discretion is urged, especially if you have little ones in the house.
It's completely ridiculous. Dude, all of it's just fake, okay? There wasn't this big Satanist thing. If you're unfamiliar with Satanic Panic, back in the 1980s, there was this massive moral panic that happened, and it was all kind of sparked by a book called Michelle Remembers, okay? This book is written by a therapist who supposedly pulled these repressed memories out of this woman's head. They turned out to be false memories. But they were supposed memories of her being subjected to like satanic rituals and sacrificed to Satan and all kinds of ridiculous stuff. He eventually went on to marry his patient, Michelle. everything about it was absurd and honestly kind of disgusting that, you know, they spread all of this around. So I don't remember exactly how many. I think 17,000 reports over the course of 10 years were filed with the police about satanic rituals being performed on children at daycares and stuff like that. It was all fake. Literally not one of them was real. All of it was made up. So anyways, this is part of the Satanic Panic, the moral panic that happened. For what it's worth, we're in the middle of a moral panic right now against trans people. It was a similar type of panic where, you know, they claimed that teachers are secretly teaching children Satanism in schools behind your back, and the curriculum secretly has satanic symbolism built into it and you don't even know, and all of this other shit. Exactly like what we're hearing with CRT and trans ideology and all of that shit. They said all the same stuff back then. Same moral panic, different target. Keep up the good fight. I appreciate that, handsome Kent. Thank you so much. Glad you like it.
Now, we're going to meet a man later on that's a seventh-generation Satanist. But first, there are new beliefs that perhaps the Son of Sam murders were not done by just one man. Shahab Sharifi reports about the ultimate evil. And when we come back, we're going to meet...
Okay, I guess that was a break in between. Yeah, we didn't get to see it.
A seventh-generation Satanist, and also speak to a woman whose children were terrorized through satanic rituals. Don't go away.
Spoiler alert, they weren't. It was completely made up. Shadow Rose, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Nola Roper, and I'd like you to join me here for Best Talk in Town, right in the studio, where I'll introduce you to today's fieriest...
You know what? Let's call it. Let's call this phone number. Let's see if it's open. Let's see. What do we got here? We got 1-212-210-2699. God, I hope it's not just like released back into the public and I'm calling some sorry son of a bitch at 9 o'clock at night right now. Hang on. Let's see what we got going on.
The number you have dialed is not in service. Please check the number and try again.
Damn, I was really hoping we were going to get to talk to some crazy evangelical nutcases about some shit. That's a shame. I've done it before. I've called these prayer lines and stuff before, and they answered, and there's one video on my Telltale Unfiltered channel where I really, I laid into it. I made some shit up. It was a prayer line, and I asked him to pray for my son who's a transgender and stuff. It was so funny, dude. Oh, my God. You should check that out if you haven't seen it. But, okay. Well, it was worth a try, right? Let's keep listening to old Nola Roper here.
Funniest and most fascinating guest. And all you have to do is call this number, 212-210-2699. You got it? Good.
It's a filthy lie. That number didn't get me anywhere.
Come on down. It's free. We have a good time. Welcome back. Now, we started the show by looking at the possible links between the Son of Sam killings and Satanism. Now, we're not trying to debate Satanism, whether it's good or whether it's bad. We're trying to understand...
Or whether it's real. They're convinced that Satanists are, like, infiltrating society because they love Satan and they hate God and they want to, like, gain power or some other nonsense. There are Satanists, the Church of Satan. They don't believe in God. They're non-theistic. It's a non-theistic brand of Satanism. But okay, let's keep listening.
Stand it this morning and try to warn ourselves of the possible dangers. And how real is devil worship?
It's not real at all.
Well, that's what my next guests will inform us. First, we have Dark Lord Blood. He's a seventh-generation Satanist.
Dude, I love it. I love it to death. Ugh. I wondered, is this guy just trolling them? But I think the answer actually is he's trolling everybody else. He is not. He's a Christian. I'm 99% sure of it.
Satanic worship goes back to his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. He grew up with this.
Absurd.
Also with me are Vicki Myers. Now, Vicki's 4 children were abused sexually and physically in satanic rituals by neighbors and a babysitter.
See, this is the kind of thing that was claimed back in the Satanic Panic era, that there were like ritual abusers that were going around like practicing these rituals on kids that were unwitting and all this. It's all made up, all of it. It was made up back then. It's made up now.
And no stranger to Best Talk, Phil Carlo. Phil has seen and researched Satanism, and it's the subject of his next book. Thank you.
I looked into this guy, actually. Apparently, he died in 2011, I think, from cancer or something like that. Rest in peace, Bill Carlo, I think, or Phil Carlo. I don't remember. He just goes by Carlo. But anyways, apparently he grew up in Brooklyn, New York City, and he got famous writing books about the gangs in Brooklyn, and was really well informed on them, apparently. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what his bio said. But he certainly has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to Satanism. Just checking through the chat. This is the most 70s thing I've ever seen, right? 1987, actually, so you're about a decade off. But yeah, it's pretty bad, for sure.
All three of you for joining me here this morning. My first question to you, Phil, is, since you have been involved in the research program, how widespread is Satanism?
It's not widespread. This is fake.
Well, I've come across it in several different countries and in many different cities all over the United States.
No, he hasn't. This is a flat-out lie.
And police departments in just about every state are getting reports of activities, not only like cemeteries where they're drawing 666, but...
that's true that the, police stations are getting reports, or were at the time. That's true. But it was all fabricated, like all of it.
The missing children and the actual finding of bodies, this kind of thing. There are shops in almost every city that sell satanic material. The books give you descriptions on how to do spells. I know of a shop, for instance, in New York City that sells books that actually give specific, detailed information on how to take a baby's life.
Okay, this is ridiculous, first of all. Second, that's free speech, baby. They can say whatever they want. And third, is this even real? And four, you can find literally anything in New York City, okay? Anything. We've got everything here.
In a circle for magical purpose, black magical purposes.
Now, obviously, rituals of Satanism have been around for centuries, but are we just becoming more aware, or are people getting more and more involved in this?
I think what's happening...
See, this is the great conundrum that moral panics face. Is it really more widespread right now, and it's just a moral panic? I'm sorry, is it really more widespread now, or has it always been to this level and it's just a moral panic? The answer in this specific case was, it was just a moral panic. There are almost zero theistic Satanists out there. And what's more, there are no people out there that are like sacrificing people. This is not happening.
Actually is, finally the police are accepting the fact that they're not isolated incidents, and that there are many, many groups who do practice this as a religion. They truly believe they're not doing anything wrong, and they practice it as religion. And the sacrifices and the thing of killing animals is part of what they do.
Okay,
No, it isn't. You know, this is really valuable to listen to, though, because it perfectly mirrors exactly what's happening right now in the United States with the current anti-trans and anti-CRT moral panic that's taking place. It perfectly mirrors it. It's eerie how similar they are, the Satanic Panic and the trans and CRT moral panic.
Now, your children, how did your children get involved in this?
I lived in a neighborhood where they were practicing. Unbeknownst to me, I did not know. And one day, about 3.5 years ago, my 3-year-old told me that he was being molested. So I asked him who knew. He said...
Okay, that's a pretty serious charge, and it should be taken seriously if it's true. But, you know, one big problem with the Satanic Panic era and the people involved, you can't trust a word out of their mouths. They flat out blatantly lie about this stuff regularly.
Everybody knew So I didn't know. I ran next door, took my youngest son to a babysitter who happened to be a perpetrator, and I did not know that, so I took them off immediately. And 4 days later, there were 30 children involved. 4 people were arrested.
In a satanic sting. Give me a fucking break. This is a joke.
And ultimately, there were 7 people arrested in our case.
Now, what kind of rituals are performed? Dark Lord Blood, I mean, you've
He actually goes by Dark Lord Blood.
seen these rituals. What is it?
Well, it's a ritual of they may want to give something in a sacrificial sense to a demon, you know, such as to mimic the biblical sacrifice of Abraham.
Why?
To mimic the sacrifice of Abraham. I'm not sure if the guy's talking off the cuff or if he planned what he was going to be asked and what he was going to say in response or not, but this is completely made up. Completely made up entirely right off the top of their heads.
Well, for the simple purpose of him granting him their servitude. Okay, they're giving him, okay, something to show them, okay, that they will serve him.
Okay, he says okay a lot, and he also seems to have a British accent.
Why is there an appeal to Satanism? I mean...
Well, why not?
See, he doesn't even have an answer to this. Like, a real Satanist, I know tons of Satanists. They have real answers to this. They know exactly why they want to be a Satanist. Because it's an activist group to kind of curb the influence of Christian nationalists. Not because they love Satan or whatever. That's the answer that a real Satanist would give you. He's not a real Satanist. In no way, in my opinion.
Satanists can do anything they want. Good to them is bad. Evil is a virtue. And when you have that kind of situation, people do things that normally perhaps they wouldn't do, and this in a sense legitimizes it. They kind of hide behind the fact that they're not people who are practicing religion. They're actually criminals who are perpetrating sexual perversions and murders and getting away with it because...
Well, that would be true if any of this is happening, but of course it's not.
In their minds, because they're doing it under the auspices of quote-unquote a religion.
Are you involved in a cult now?
No, I am a solo practitioner of the occult.
Solo practitioner of the occult. Give me a break.
Okay. And I practice, you know, solely with myself and not using any of the conveniences of a coven whatsoever.
Like, what do you do?
Well, I practice certain rituals of conjurances of demons, practice banes, altering probabilities.
No, he doesn't. None of this happens, okay? This is completely made up. And what's more, I don't believe that this guy is even involved in this stuff. I really think he's a Christian. So I'm guessing Robin Williams, Dato, was an early character in Breath of the Wild. Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, totally. There's a Robin Williams character in Breath of the Wild. Pretty crazy.
Things along that nature.
And when he speaks about altering probabilities, that's why they do their ceremonies. And that's why they make sacrifices, to lend potency to the altering of those things. And they truly believe it works. And unfortunately, they believe that the most potent sacrifice is a young child because they are the most innocent. And
complete absurdity. None of this is true.
They actually regularly, in a prescribed manner, like they have a calendar, do this, make human sacrifices. I know, I've seen, there's a shop, I can't say where it is, but it is in town, and they sell something called a garrote knife.
Well, why doesn't he tell us where the shop is? He says it's in town. Just tell us. Tell us where. What's the problem? It's New York City. It's a public shop. Give him a little publicity, right?
Over the counter, and there's only...
So he says they sell a garrote knife, something like that? Over the counter? Okay.
One reason for this kind of knife, and that's to cut a throat. It's in a half-moon shape.
I disagree. There are other reasons for that knife. It's held up, okay, in the middle of...
Okay, well, look, if the knife is really only intended to cut a throat, then I can totally see a hunter using that, right? I can see the value in having a knife that'd be useful for, like, skinning an animal or whatever. Doesn't mean that, like, you know, it's only ever used in satanic rituals. And hell, even if it is, I'm allowed to have whatever the hell I want, aren't I? Is it suddenly illegal to own anything that, like, a Satanist might use in a ritual? What is this, like communist Russia or something? What's happening here? What happened to freedom and liberty?
Pyramid and conjurance, okay? And lights are supposed to pass through that dark light, or arc-light.
And this dark light you're making reference to is used to sever throats.
No, it is not used necessarily to sever throats. I don't sever throats using it.
Right, well, that's your choice, but there are others that do that.
But you're...
So you're advocating... God, see, this is what happens when I try to deflect these blasts. Give me a second here. Hang on. So you're advocating for taking something away from, like, a public storefront because it might be used in nefarious ways? Somebody might use it in a way that you don't like, and you want to ban anybody from using it at all or from owning one at all? A knife, really? I mean, we're talking, this is not a weapon that is used to take people out en masse. This causes no harm to anybody to simply own a knife. That's it. I own a billion knives. I have, like, kitchen knives, like, all over the place in the kitchen. They're not that uncommon, but this type of knife he wants to ban simply because he heard a rumor that it's used in satanic rituals. Absurd. What happened? Like, this guy's from the freedom and liberty crowd, you know? What happened to freedom and liberty?
Saying as a whole, you are generalizing every occultist in a bad category. We don't all do that. I don't sacrifice children.
Well,
Do animals?
I've done animals, yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
I've done animals. I don't do them anymore.
The fact that you've
Just everything about this is absurd, dude.
And then doesn't mean that the fact that you did it once and don't do it anymore doesn't mean it didn't happen. And the fact that you change is fine. There are many like you that have not changed, and they still do that. And this kind of knife is being sold for that reason. There is something called an
But
amphitheum.
it's also being sold for healthy reasons.
Man, what's healthy about selling a knife that
Vicky.
Oh my God, that's bad, dude. This guy literally just growled at this guy. This is so bad. He can't be real, right? This isn't real. This is fake. It has to be. You cannot convince me that this dude is for real. He's just a Christian trolling everybody, right? This is absurd on every level, dude. Oh my God.
Let me ask you about your children.
Like, what would you do if some dude growled at you like that? Seriously. That's bad.
I mean, how are they suffering now?
They still discuss things like human sacrifice and the participation that they had within those rituals.
You know, she's shamelessly taking advantage or using her children as like a political tool. And that's just, God, does it get more depraved than this, honestly? I mean, I've seen some pretty bad stuff. This is bad. To claim that your children were taken advantage of in satanic rituals, completely made up, all of it. Just disgusting, dude, honestly.
They are in therapy and have been for 3.5 years. I have a son that no longer lives with me because he's become abusive. And
the son has become abusive because he was subjected to satanic rituals. Come on.
These are small children. They still have their own. It's a form of brainwashing that's been used with them. So they're still
Can
practicing.
they recover?
Hopefully.
I mean, now what are some of the things, like if our children are involved, what are some of the things that we can watch for or look for?
See, this is, like I said, this is exact moral panic that's taking place right now in the United States. This exact thing. It's just not over Satanism. It's over being trans. It's over, quote-unquote, trans ideology. It's over CRT. They're woke. They're teaching our children wokeism. It's the exact same moral panic. I mean, they are so similar to each other, it'd be indistinguishable. You could trade words out, and it would make complete sense in that context.
Guys like him, watch out for them.
I mean, if kids,
watch out for uninformed people writing books.
What are some of the changes we...
Oh, God, he's looking at him making a threat or something. Like, this is just ridiculous, dude, honestly.
can look for in a child?
You can look for a change in attitude, okay? Arrogance, most likely, okay? Also, there will be a supreme knowledge, okay? They'll be much more knowledgeable of things dealing in a philosophical sense.
In a philosophical sense, okay?
Than they normally would be.
They become very shy, very withdrawn.
They become abusive within
and they
themselves.
become abusive to other children because they've been taught a precedent. So they don't become the things that he's describing.
I'm describing a teenager.
Blood.
She said children.
Nightmares. And those small children have a preoccupation with these things. They talk about bodies being cremated and, you know, what happened to this person when they died. Did somebody eat them? You know, these are...
Okay, what? I don't understand what she's even talking about. What the hell?
The kind of things that these kind of children ask.
And children are actually saying that they're seeing bodies being burned. Children are the ones that are saying it. Unfortunately, the police don't take children's testimony serious in this respect, but very, very frequently they have details about human anatomy, for instance, that they just couldn't know. I know of one instance in which a child described worms coming out of the stomach after it was cut open, and what they were making reference to were the intestines.
One child, he said. I know of one child. Okay, give us the name. Give us the source. Let's find this out. If you know of this quote-unquote one child who described this, tell us the situation, the state, the city. Give us information that we can trace it back and find for ourselves. This is called weasel words, when he refers to some ambiguous unknown source or authority for the premise of what he's claiming. You know, some people are saying, or authorities have said, or I heard blah, blah, blah. Weasel words. Don't trust them when you hear weasel words. Almost certainly completely made up when you hear that kind of thing. Anyway, just absurd, dude. If you want to see more of this, follow me over to my Telltale Unfiltered channel, 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. I do it every Wednesday and Thursday morning, 10:30 to somewhere around 2:30 or 3 usually. So yeah, follow me on over in the morning. If you missed this, if you're watching this live, or you're watching this like the day after it aired, you should be able to see it if you just go to my website, owenmorgan.com, or subscribe to my email list, owenmorgan.com/subscribe. You will receive a link to an unlisted video that is ad-free, uncensored, and complete, not broken down into parts. So yeah, just sign up for my stuff and you'll get it the moment I finish editing it. Okay? Anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Zinka Cat, it's always a good evening when I get to hear Owen talk about Nutter Butters. Thanks for all you do. Absolutely. Glad you came, and I'm glad you like my stuff. And thanks for being a member for 4 months. That's awesome. So where did you get your tats? Oh, all over the place. Nowhere special. Just regular old, you know, I think I got this one in Florida. I don't even know the place. It's just some walk-in place. This one was done at home by somebody, a tattoo artist. This one, I believe, was also done at home by a tattoo artist. Yeah. This is one half of the A Perfect Circle logo. And then this one, my kid's name on the side. I don't remember where I got this. This is in West Virginia somewhere. And I have another on my back, but anyway. All right, guys, I'm outie. Thank you so much for coming. Don't forget to go to my website. Subscribe to my email list. You can find it on the website. And, yeah, check out my Patreon, too. I would appreciate that very much. All right, I'm outie, guys. Meet me on my Unfiltered channel, 10:30 a.m. Wednesdays and Thursdays, all right? All right, have a good night, everybody. If you like what I do and you want to make sure I can continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, you can support me on Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. I sell all kinds of shirts and stickers and stuff on there. Second, you can support me by checking out my Etsy store. I sell 3D printed stands for every system, from the original Nintendo to the Xbox One. And finally, if you want to support me in other ways, you can check me out on my other channels. I have the podcast channel, which is where I talk about whatever's on my mind. Politics, social issues, issues, whatever. You can also find it everywhere podcasts can be found. Or you can check out the videos on my main channel where I focus on destructive cults. As it is with most channels these days, I rely on the support of viewers like you to keep my channel alive, so sharing my work is extremely helpful. Anyways, check me out in all those places if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, guys.